Welcome to A Few Minutes with the CEO. My name is Al O'Grady, and for the next few minutes, we'll be talking to the President and CEO of Excelsior Mining, Mr. Stephen Twyerould. Excelsior is an exploration company with its main focus on a copper project in Arizona. It's called the Gunnison Copper Project, which is located within a main copper belt with a well-established history. The company's management team has experienced professionals who have a proven track record of advancing projects into production. Excelsior trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol MIN. It's also on the Frankfurt under the symbol 3XS and on the OTCQX under the symbol EXMGF. Mr. Twyerould, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Al.
Steve, as I said in my introduction, Excelsior is certainly focusing its attention on its main project known as the Gunnison Copper Project. Let's talk about the past, present, and future, if you will. Let's start with the past. Give us the background on this project, a project overview, if you will, and really why you're so bullish on this.
I got involved in the project in 2005, and when I got involved, this was a historic, if you like, Magma Copper Corporation in situ leach project. We didn't come up with this idea of doing in situ leaching of copper. Magma was doing in situ leaching in Arizona, and this was one of their old projects. And in about 1997 or so, they were taken over by BHP Billiton. And when they did, this project was handed back to the original owner. And we simply stepped in about 2005 and picked up where Magma had left off to keep this project moving forward.
Okay, so you gave us a little bit of background, if you will. Let's talk about the present day right now. I know you started a drill program. What's going on there right now?
Right now, we have 2 rigs out there. We're doing hydrological studies and metallurgical studies. And the idea of those studies is to collect more of this technical data that supports in situ mining. The program will shift then from doing some of that hydrology and metallurgical work to doing a little bit more geological and resource development work.
Okay, we've talked about the past, talked about the present. Let's move on to the future. Do some crystal ball gazing. From a shareholder perspective, what are your goals and expectations going forward, short-term and long-term? Short-term, I'm talking, say, the next 3 to 6 months. Longer term, say, the next 3 to 5 years.
Certainly in the short term, with the technical data that we collect, that's all about reducing risk. So the company right now, we have a pretty small market cap, about $30 million. That's a very small market cap for a company that's got several billion pounds of copper oxide metal in the ground that, on our scoping study, looks highly profitable. As we continue to get the hydrology and metallurgy data over the next 3 to 6 months, and that data supports what we've been saying about the project, then that's going to create value. Then longer term, our aim is to get this project into production by 2015. So again, if we get that into production in 2015, you'll be looking at a company that's producing 70 to 80, maybe 90 million pounds of copper a year for a 20-year mine life, and we'd be doing that at less than $1 a pound operating cost and a very low upfront capital cost. So, that would be a spectacular outcome for a small company like ourselves, and of course that would be very appreciative on the share price.
Okay, let's talk about copper prices for a second. Really, for the last 3 or 4 months or so, copper prices seem to be going sideways, hovering around that 380 mark. Seems that $4 is a bit of a glass ceiling of some sort. Does that either encourage or discourage you in any way?
It doesn't really. The copper price, realistically, it does affect your ability to raise finance. If the copper price is declining, it can make it difficult to raise finance. But those investors that are looking for, a major capital growth on their investment, we're going to be producing copper ultimately at well under $1 a pound operating cost. So, we're going to be in business even if the copper price takes a tank, and let's say it gets down to $2 a pound. We're going to be one of the few guys that are still producing copper or have an attractive project. Obviously, my personal view is that I think the copper price is going to stay up, somewhere in the range, $3.50 to $4 over the next several years.
Okay, we were talking earlier in our discussion, you have a drill program going on right now. Is this going to be leading to another NI 43-101 report where you can actually show, inferred and also and resources that you do have available to you?
Correct. We currently have inferred and indicated resources. Most of the resources already indicated. The 43-101 that this would lead to is really the pre-feasibility study. So towards the end of this year, we'll release the results of the pre-feasibility study. Okay,
I'll be looking forward to those results. Let's move onwards, if you will. Obviously, copper is your number one focus on this, but quite often when there's a copper project, sometimes it kind of goes hand in hand that there's also gold there as well, and maybe even sometimes nickel. Is that on your plate at all, or is it really gravy if there's a secondary metal that comes along?
Yeah, we've looked at the secondary metal. I mean, some of these Arizona porphyry coppers, they have molybdenum related to them, and some gold and silver and lead and zinc on occasions. Our main focus is copper. There's not a lot, other metals that we could extract from our mining process, so we're not really paying much attention to them. Okay.
Obviously, you're focusing all of your attention on the Gunnison project in Arizona. Are there any other projects, any other properties that you have on the back burner, maybe that you'll also be focusing your attention on in the future?
Yeah, going forward, I mean, we see a lot of projects. A lot of people bring projects to us. Most of what we've seen to date would be dilutive for us because, our project is quite outstanding. But certainly we keep an eye on what's out there. Our main focus is to get this into production, and that's what our shareholders are backing us for. So, we're going to stay on track for that.
That has to be, a really an excellent benefit for you and also for shareholders. Your property is in Arizona. Obviously, you're going to be close to infrastructure. You don't have to worry about any sort of political instability. A lot of benefits staying in the North America, down in the United States. Isn't that really the case?
Absolutely. Arizona itself still is, and has always been a very, very large copper producer, certainly the largest copper producer in the United States. So we've got a lot of copper-focused infrastructure here. The counties, the communities, the governments, the people we work with are very, very familiar with copper mining. We've got BHP Billiton, we've got Freeport down here, Rio Tinto, Asarco. All the big guys are operating mines in the state. So, there really is a mining culture here in Arizona, and we just get leverage off the back of that.
Steve, that's it as far as the formal questions are concerned. As always, my guest gets the last word. Any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to add right now?
Look, I think the key thing about this project, it's all about producing that large amount of copper on an annual basis for 20 years at under $1. And the team have got a great program going forward. We've got the funding to do that program and the management team to make that program a success. So it's really a matter of just getting on with the job.
Okay. On that note, Stephen, I want to thank you very much for your time and sharing your thoughts with us about Excelsior.
Thank you.
And Excelsior trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol MIN. It's also on the Frankfurt under the symbol 3XS. And on the OTCQX under the symbol EXMGF. And you've been listening to Mr. Stephen Twyerould, President and CEO of Excelsior Mining, on A Few Minutes with the CEO, produced by RBL Communications. I'm Al O'Grady. Thanks very much for joining us.